Hello and welcome to Worth It or Woke Reviews. Today I'm going to discuss the second half of the second season of 1923. The final 4 episodes of 1923 were a mix of the fabulous and the frustrating, as Jacob and Kara Dutton continued to battle the harsh Montana winter secluded at the Yellowstone Ranch, and Timothy Dalton's character plots. Spencer and Alex take so long to reach Bozeman that they might as well have walked. A common complaint by many fans, myself included, far too much of the season was spent on Alex and Spencer's respective journeys to Montana, as Alex stumbles her way into an unending and unrealistic conveyor belt of dastardly villains and melodramatic trials. Spencer quickly became an afterthought, as did the show's primary story arc, that of the greedy and sadistic land baron plotting to steal Yellowstone away from the Duttons. Let's be real, Alex was never anything more than an interesting device to facilitate Spencer's character growth. On her own, her quote-unquote British charm, aka incessant blathering, was the cinematic equivalent to AOC. Tolerable, but only because she's hot, and any hint of charm quickly melts away under the never-ending onslaught of her immaturity and bad decision-making. From the heartless doctors and immigration officials who wanted to rape her, to posh gentlemen train passengers who wanted to rape her in public, to well-meaning saviors turned retarded adventurers, the torture porn that was watching her continued abuse lost its appeal pretty much right after it started. As the show bounced us around from one character to another, it seems clear that this season had no idea what the main plot was, or upon whom to focus. Those who watched the first season already knew that was a bit of a problem. That season treated viewers to multiple momentum-breaking cutaways to an over-the-top, uninteresting, and completely unrelated side story about an American Indian girl who escaped from an abusive Catholic, no kidding, reformatory school where she was repeatedly beaten and raped by lesbian nuns, of course. Season 2 continues her story as lawmen and the clergy scour the West in search of her to bring her to Jesus and justice in no particular order. It's full of unlikable characters and an off-putting soapbox self-righteousness that probably turned off a number of viewers early into the series' run. It can't be overstated how incongruously and clumsily her storyline was spliced into each episode. That it ends in a wet fart of a conclusion only diminishes it that much more. But isn't that surprising? However, Season 2 doubled down on the distractions, giving the show more of a branching story tree than storyline. The promised war from Season 1 ends up only taking 45 minutes of runtime, and is less of a war and more of a shootout. It's thrilling and well done, but ultimately an unsatisfying bit of action that's all wrapped up with a deus ex machina rather than the thoughtful planning and burning tension promised as early as Season 1. But the really souring thing about this season is that all of its branching story arcs that took up so many hours of the lives of those who watched week after week were wrapped up with the same half-satisfying thud. It was like Ryan Johnson was brought in to consult. Lastly, at least as far as the negative aspects of the show go, Timothy Dalton's land baron was some very weak sauce as far as villains go. Dalton, who is probably best known for his underrated turn as James Bond in the late 80s, plays Donald Whitfield, a wealthy and ruthless businessman who has no moral objections to murdering his way through whole families to get what he wants. Whitfield started off strong as the show planted evil seeds that promised to bear some very dark fruit, but his character jumped the shark when he decided that the path to true and Midas-like riches were to be found in the hospitality sector. Don't get me wrong, there have certainly been those who have ruined their children's lives with generational fortunes made doing so. That's hot. But early on, his character makes a point of sharing his personal philosophy on wealth building, and he clearly and unambiguously specifies that he wants the Yellowstone for the gold, silver, and coal that lies beneath it. He goes on to say in that same clip that he would never deal in businesses like cattle ranching, etc. He mines precious resources because gold never gets sick. It never dies. It's never without value, and everyone wants it. In essence, he likes its relative lack of volatility, unlike the hospitality industry, which is all volatility. 2 episodes later, he suddenly can think of nothing more than turning Yellowstone into a ski resort, something that wouldn't exist in America for another 10 plus years, i.e. a complete and total gamble, catering to the nouveau rich looking for excitement and leisure activities. Again, obviously there's money to be made in the industry. We know that now after decades of living proof. But anyone who's ever run a restaurant or entertainment service can tell you that it has to be a labor of love because it's hard and it's unlikely to make most who attempt it wealthy in any way. For his ruthless and calculating character to make the sudden shift was not only jarring, but I found it laugh out loud funny. It transformed the robber baron into a mustache-twirling, murder mystery dinner theater villain. Wanting to build a ski resort has no gravitas. To put it into perspective, Valley Resorts, the world's most profitable ski resort company, averages about $52 million per resort per year. Conversely, the world's most profitable gold mine complex generates almost $10 billion a year at current gold prices. The shift in motivation was weird and stupid, but more than that, it was unneeded. They had already established a perfectly good one, and it's as though the writers forgot his original motivation and came up with this stupid cartoon plot after a night of drinking. It's no coincidence that at the same time that the character was transforming into Dick Dastardly, that the writers felt the need to also amp up his evil, and so they sloppily stitched on a character trait right out of Game of Thrones. And audiences were then regularly, far too regularly, like we get the idea, can we move on regularly, treated to scenes of him physically and psychologically abusing hookers.
Is Wayne Brady gonna have to choke a bitch?
It was cheap and gross TNA that amateurishly tried and failed, ultimately, to be a substitute for his now overall lack of importance to the story. Now for the good. And it's good that's so good it makes it easy for viewers to overlook the show's many weaknesses, or at least come away confused as to why, as much as they enjoyed a particular episode, they might still feel unsatisfied at its end. Most of the performances are wonderfully subtle and natural and performed with magnetic and gritty charisma. Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren give as good as they get, with little need for dialogue to capture the audience's attention and hearts. The rest of the cast, even Julia Schlapfer, something German, who plays the borderline obnoxious Alex, are nearly at the same levels as Ford and Mirren and manage to breathe life into their increasingly sluggish storylines. It's an odd show because, while the plot is unfocused and the hardships often feel artificial and needlessly tacked on to stretch the runtime because the writers don't know what else to do with them, it's also often very entertaining. If I had to guess, and I'm pretty sure that's why you're here, is for me to do exactly that, I'd say that the time period and the aesthetic, as much as the performances, make for much of the draw. Despite its creative deficiencies, 1923 does an amazing job of transporting the viewer back in time and wowing them with the unbelievable challenges that people once faced but are now solved by a tiny convenience that most people carry around in their pockets. The now simple act of getting in touch with someone was a nearly insurmountable object that could cause unending hardships and even death. Only 100 years later, people pay thousands of dollars to spend a week away from their phones. 1923 really makes you feel that. The show is further bolstered by the charming relationship between Ford and Mirren's character, who share a genuine love and respect for one another, as well as each other's roles in their relationship. It's something that's rarely portrayed in modern programs, and it's both heartwarming and refreshing. The same really brilliant direction that is sometimes forced to provide the illusion that something is happening and is almost always successful is also on display and keeps things moving forward, if only on a treadmill. Likewise, while the writers don't appear to be too capable when it comes to plot consistency or momentum, they are craftsmen with dialogue, able to keep it punchy and tight, with an authentic rawness and grit that never crosses the line into caricature. Ultimately, I'd characterize the second half of the season as a near miss. It's too unfocused and its ending too unsatisfying, despite being cinematically excellent, to encourage others to spend their time watching. For further insights into the first half of 1923, as well as a detailed list of the program's woke elements, if any, be sure to visit our site at worthitorwoke.com. That's worthitorwoke.com. And if you like this video and you would like to see us create more, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Oh, and be sure to check out our new Worth It or Woke shop. There you can support our mission to fight the woke mind virus and provide families and individuals with the information that they need to make the best viewing decisions possible. I'll put the links down in the description. I'm James Carrick, and remember, the Oscars suck, the critics are a joke. We'll let you know if it's worth it or woke.